John, how do you find the last couple of years, right, adoption of your framework? Any specific industry that is looking at your framework more than other, or any specific geographical location, any country? Could you share something with us on that?
Well, one thing is my framework is inert. It is not addressing any one specific industry or any one specific enterprise. It's like the periodic table. Once again, does not address any one specific set of compounds. It's universal. My framework is universal, and we've had experience recently in the defense contractors. They're dealing with extreme complexity and extreme rates of change, and the basic reason why you do architecture for anything is complexity and change. We've done some things with transportation companies, and it's a complex kind of an industry where there's an integration of a whole bunch of different kind of product and services into a cohesive business, and so it's a framework is helpful for doing that kind of thing. We did several telecommunications companies. There's a lot of uncertainty and chaos in the industry in general. They don't even know what the services are, that the communication services are that they may want, a customer may want. So it's extremely complex. They have to respond, and many times the communication business is, if they don't have any primitive components, they can't respond to producing products that they don't even know, the customer doesn't even know what they want. So there's a great deal of interest in the telecommunications industry. Let's see, I named a number of, I mean, the framework is useful for any industry. You're trying to understand what the problem is, diagnose the problem, prescribe multiple solutions, figure out which one you like to try to implement, and test it out. If it's not correct, on the fly you can dynamically create another prescription and try that one. And the whole concept of an ontology, I believe that a concept of ontology is at the basis for every discipline. And if you don't have the ontology, you don't have a discipline. Nothing is repeatable and nothing is predictable. So therefore, you're trying to learn everything by trial and error, by experience. Right. And you're winging it, basically. You say, go back to medical science for a minute. You go back 50 years ago or 100 years, and probably have to go back farther than 50. They didn't have X-ray machines. They didn't have CT scans. They didn't have those kind of things. So, how do you decide whether you want to operate on somebody or not? Right. It's basically gut feel. Say, well, yeah, I think so. If we cut this person open, we may find the problem. So today, we've evolved, and they have much more. There's structure to the discipline. We do have the constructs of the chemistry of the body, of the organic functionality, of the skeletal system, the muscle. Now we have these, and we can use these. We have actually better tools and technologies to help us do the diagnosis and so on. That's exactly what will happen in IT, or in enterprise. It's not an IT issue. It is an enterprise issue. It'll be what happens in the enterprise. As we can acknowledge or embrace the ontological construct, enterprise engineering and change will become a discipline, and the tools will evolve substantially, I'm sure. We're going to see a great explosion here, because there are a lot of challenges out there in the enterprise domain. There's lots of challenges. So it's going to happen, but it's all dependent upon embracing the ontological construct. If you don't believe in the periodic table, there's never going to be splitting atoms. I'll tell you what. It was after Mendeleev published the periodic table, was only 50 years before the physicists were splitting atoms. Right. Okay, and it was 7,000 years of best practices. They never even figured out basically what atoms were all about, until the periodic table. Now you can ignore it if you want to, but if you want to get really sophisticated really quick, the better thing to do is to pick up the ontology and exploit it and figure out how to use it and use it to advance the state of the art in whatever the discipline is that you're trying to practice.
Right. Now, coming back to you mentioned about, you're seeing a lot of adoption of your framework and the ontological concept into the defense organizations and telcos, the telecom companies around, some of the transportation, companies. I understand you were mentioning earlier about some of the the large oil energy companies, so on. Now, if you look at these industries around, do you see a kind of a common challenge in adoption, or have you identified issues or challenges these companies or the team working on these that they are having right now? What is your experience on that?
Well, it goes back to the contextual issue. The world is in a major transition stage right now. It's very similar to the Industrial Revolution. We're moving out of the industrial age into an information age, just like the world moved out of the agricultural age and the industrial age. And so major, massive changes are taking place. And the characteristics of the future of the information age, the things that are becoming very obvious, is that extreme complexity. You have to be able to dynamically accommodate the specific customized requirements of a customer. You have to, and it's extremely complex. Everything you produce is customized to the demand, the specification of the customer. And the time it takes for you to produce those responses to the customer is excuse me, shrinking dramatically. To the customer wants a custom product, and they want it now, at the click of their mouse. So you have to accommodate extreme complexity and extreme rates of change. If you can't accommodate extreme complexity and extreme rates of change, you're not going to be in the business. That doesn't make any difference whether you're in the public sector or the private sector or public sector. Look around the public sector. If you can't accommodate the demands of the marketplace, the citizens, and if you can't accommodate them now, you're going to be out of business. And it doesn't have anything to do with how big you are or how small you are. Your stock price can go from 60 to 1 about an hour and a half. It doesn't take very long. So you have to be able to deal with extreme complexity and extreme rates of change. You have to be able to dynamically change your enterprise at the click of the mouse. And on top of that, accommodate extreme complexity. If you can't do that, you're not going to be in the game. Okay, I don't care who it is or how big it is. So. And if you want to deal with extreme complexity and extreme change, you're going to deal with architecture. If you're building log cabins, you don't need architecture. You need an axe and a forest. But if you build a 100-story building, you start with architecture. I mean,
right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just,